Welcome to the STARS program, seniors taking active roles in society. And now, here's your host, Anita Finley.
I haven't had anybody on immigration on my show, I don't know, maybe ever, I'm not sure, but I do get a lot of people who have questions. And so I'm very fortunate to have a brilliant son, Chandler Finley, who is a very, very high-powered immigration attorney with Wilson Elser, a major law firm across the country. And I asked him, with all the immigration problems, why don't you come on the show and let's talk about what you think people want to know about. So thank you. Welcome to the show, Chandler.
Thank you. Good morning, Mom.
Good morning. Chandler, when I think about it, there's so many, we just had someone who was working in senior help, and you think about the people who are coming here who are doing the helping, and are they still going to be able to come here? And I know you have a lot of news to talk about with immigration, and why don't you get started? And you know that our listening audience, most of them are 50 plus, and they're probably very concerned. In fact, we probably have a lot of immigrants listening.
Right. Well, immigration obviously is a very big topic right now. It's a hot on the press and always in the news every day. There's a lot of new laws and new regulations, and there's still lots of types of visas and green cards and work permits for everyone out there. The laws haven't changed really much because Congress has not been able to do much changing anything. And you're able to, still apply for all the same visas and work permits that were always there before. Even with the different administrations, things haven't really changed for the last 30 years in the laws.
Really?
There have been lots of presidential proclamations and executive orders. Obama did a lot of them, and now Trump is doing a lot of different proclamations and orders because Congress is not doing its job and making a new immigration reform and trying to fix the problems here. So, and one of the things why I also want to be on now is there's the green card lottery, which is out right now. The green card lottery has been going on since 1991, and it hasn't been turned off, although President Trump wants to stop it. He doesn't want to allow it. But the green card lottery is 55,000 green cards that are won by putting your name in a computer. And most of the countries are eligible, but there are some countries that are not eligible. There's about 13, the list of 13 countries that are not eligible. It's a formula of about whether the country met the quota in the last 2 or 3 years. But generally, the green card lottery is where you go online, fill in the information. It's free online at the official websites. There's a lot of scam websites. You have to be very careful with that. But there's a free official website at the Department of State where you simply put in your name and information and your address and passport number and things like that. And sometime next year, in May 2020, you could win a green card, and then you'd be able to come to the United States the following October. So it's a year from now, basically. But it's a long-term planning.
Excuse me, is this 55,000 for the whole country? I mean,
no,
for everybody?
55,000 for the world. Okay, but it's actually, that's really good. There's about maybe 6 million that apply every year, and 55,000 out of 6 million is better odds than the Florida Lotto that everyone plays. We do maybe 50 to 100 every year, and we win about at least 2 or 3 every year from the clients that file. Now, there's some countries that are not eligible that we have a relationship with here in Florida. For instance, Canada cannot apply. Brazil cannot apply. Mexico cannot apply. That just gives you an idea of some of the major countries that are in our area that cannot apply because there's already so many Canadians here, so many Mexicans here. The original plan of the visa was a diversity visa, was to have
keep going.
People
because
from
this
different
is very
countries,
yeah.
Coming to the U.S. When it was started in 1991, there was a Kennedy Amendment, and there were a lot more Irish people coming to the United States at that time. And when Obama was president, we had a lot of people from Africa and Kenya coming to the United States, winning the lottery, because they were more interested in it, so there were more applications.
Excuse me, how does it work, though? You put all the names in a big pot?
That's right. You put it in the computer, and the computer selects 55,000 winners, And then you go online and you see if you won, and then you can actually file the application. You print out your winning letter that you won the lottery for the green card lottery.
Okay, but as an immigration attorney, there are a lot of people that come to you, and it's not to do with the lottery.
That's right.
They need help. So, what do you suggest? Let's just make believe someone's listening out there, and they're from some country that's allowable. How do you do this?
The important thing I always tell you is they have to apply for something before their time expires. Of course, if the time expires, you become an illegal temporary visitor or illegal immigrant, and it's different than the people coming across the borders, things like that. But the important thing is you have to apply for a visa. There are work visas in the healthcare industry, a lot of work visas in the hospitality industry, but you have to actually get to the nursing facility or to the hotel or to the hospital and then ask that they apply for you. So you have to have, of course, education. You have to have some experience, maybe certificates for training before you apply for the visas. And there are visas available like that. And also, say, temporary visa. A lot of people get their temporary visa first, and then after 2 or 3 years, while they're here, they're applying for their green card. It's a process. Then, of course, citizenship is 5 years after they get their green card. So that's the way it goes. First a temporary visa, then your green card, and then you can apply for citizenship later.
But now there are business people. They have a little different situation, don't they, if they want to come?
Yes, that's right. Now, there's businesses, for instance, you can have investors. You have a company that wants to invest in a new grocery store or open a new market or buying a real estate development, something like that. Those are investors, and they're what's called investor visas. Generally, they invest more than $250,000 into a business that they own. They can have an investor visa for 5 years, for instance. There's also an immigrant investor visa they call the $1 million visa, whereas you invest $1 million into a business and you create 10 new jobs in that new business, you can have the right to get a green card. Now,
that makes sense.
Yeah, that's $1 million right now, but in November it's going up to $1.8 million. They're changing that. That's one of the things that Donald Trump has changed in the new law.
But I was thinking about people who are in Europe, Italy, Spain, or England, and they do have businesses. They want to come here, and that gives them an opportunity. So it's a little bit different than the typical immigration.
Yes, that's right. Also, if there's major companies, if you have a very big manufacturing company in Italy, for instance, and they import lots of goods, or there's a wine or food distributor, and they open a company in the United States, they can bring their employees on visas because they need their employees here to run some of the business. But they can't bring everybody in. They have to hire Americans also to run the business, but they can bring in the executives and managers, people like that are important.
So when they do that, can they bring in their families? So let's say they bring them in.
Yeah, generally if there's one principal visa worker, they can bring their family in, their spouse and minor children under 21, so they can go to school, and they can also, sometimes the spouse gets a work permit, sometimes it depends on the visa.
Okay, so Chandler, people who are listening probably want to know how to contact you. What phone number should they contact, and how would they get in touch with you?
Well, in Palm Beach County, they can 561-478-9930. We have an office. It's based in Wellington right now, and I also have another office in Miami.
And what would that be?
The Miami office is 305-374-4400.
Okay, I have that. And the name of course, your law firm is Wilson Elser, and you, Chandler Finley, have you been in the immigration world for a long time? How many years? I hate even for you to say, but
I've been practicing for 31 years now.
31 years, wow.
In South Florida, and we've been bringing in lots of good workers and people doing immigration. We also do a lot of corporate work and contracts and entertainment law and real estate. We do a lot of real estate closings and representing foreign buyers buying real estate and also representing Americans buying real estate.
And one thing
selling
that's
real
always made me very excited is that you bring in the polo players. Talk about that out in
Well,
Wellington.
that's right.
Tell me what happens. They come in, they go home, they come in. How does that work?
Well, technically, polo players are worker. They're coming to work. They're coming to compete and play polo. Any sports or entertainer has to have a visa, and the visa is a P1 visa for a rider or a player, we call it. They also can bring in their grooms, the people that come in and take care of the horses with them. Most of the big polo players are from Argentina, some Brazil, Mexico, England, and when they come into the United States, they have to have a visa because they're going to be here for the season, which is in Wellington about 3 or 4 months. But then they go to New York, they go to California, and they have to travel in the United States. And to do that, they have to have a visa. So we represent probably half of the top world's top 20 polo players, and most of them are all from Argentina. And they come, so they'll be coming probably starting in December because the games start in January in Wellington this year.
Do the horses have to have visas? No, I'm kidding.
I know, no, but they have to bring they bring about 25 horses in for every polo player. You can imagine they have to have 4 horses for every game, and they have backup horses, and that's a lot of horses, and they're actually all quarantined in Miami. And they have special quarantine facilities also in Wellington where the horses can be transported directly to Wellington, quarantined under U.S. Customs laws until they prove that they have all the vaccination shots and they're healthy, and then they release them because they don't want to have. There was about 10 years ago, there was a disease that some of the horses had, and they all caught it in Wellington. They had a lot of horses that were dying in Wellington because of that, but that's over, and now. It's just, as long as they're quarantined, they release the horses and everyone's fine. But it's another type of immigration.
I can picture all these horses coming on a plane. That must really be an interesting thing.
Yeah, they ship them on the plane. And actually the grooms, the trainers, are in the cargo with the horse because they have to make sure that they're maintained and taken care of. The horses are, no horse that they play with is less than $250,000. And their top horse might be $1 million horse that they know they ride. That horse follows the ball when they're going on playing on the field. The horses are trained to get the ball.
Well, you also talked about entertainment law, and I know that you have represented some people like that too. So now, is it the same situation if let's say I know you have one who's very big in Spain. Let's say he wants to come and just do 1 night or 2 nights. Does he just come in on a plane, and how does that work?
Yeah, well, technically it's a job, and so you the idea of the visa is you have to prove that you are a person of fame already, that you're already a star, you already have music experience, and that there's a concert scheduled for you and publicity and everything. You can't just come in and develop your trade here, but every entertainer, they come in for a concert or tour, they have to have a visa. There's also a P visa for entertainment or an O visa for entertainment, and they have to apply for the visa before they come to the United States to perform. Everyone has to have a visa.
And the cruise ships, I know that you have told me before that a lot of the dancers and the entertainments on the cruise ships have to come by, and of course they go to you and you help them get through.
Right,
now,
that's right.
Is it a limited amount of days or nights or weeks or months? How does that work?
Well, most of the people on the cruise ships, they'll have a contract to perform on the cruise ships like for 6 months or maybe a year. Because as you all know, if you've been on the ships, you go to the musicals and you see the shows and singers. A lot of them are from Australia, England, other countries, because the Americans don't need a visa. What they do then, they're training here in the U.S. because they have big training facilities. All those musicals, all those shows have rehearsal studios here in South Florida and Fort Lauderdale, Miami. And so they have to be here to rehearse and study for the show. Then on and off the cruise ship, every time they come in and they go out and they go in, they out, they need a visa to show immigration that they have the proper entertainment visa to go in and out for dancing, singing, the aerialists you see and flying on, and comedy, music, all those kind of things. And we book everybody and we try to sponsor them for the visas and that kind of stuff for the cruise ships.
Wow, it sounds complicated, but I guess you've been doing it long enough, and you have all the right forms. And so, people who are listening now, what do you think that one of the major questions that people are sitting in their home and they may have someone who they really like that's taking care of a family member, but they're not really a citizen? What should they be doing? Because they're scared. They don't know what to do. They don't want to get picked up. So can you advise any of these people what to do?
Yeah, and what's most important is you have to start filing an application. You can't just sit there and wait for another amnesty, which we haven't had one since Bill Clinton in 2000. This has been 20 years now. There's been nothing like that. You have to start with some paperwork so that before they become illegal or before that, they get picked up, they can start the paperwork so that when there may be a new law or something that's changed, we even, oftentimes we get the green cards approved here in the U.S., but maybe they can't get it here now because they're out of status. We actually send them home back to their foreign country to an interview at the U.S. Embassy, back in the and then they get the green card, then they can come back. So there's ways to do that for some people. Every case is different. But certainly there's visas, work green cards for healthcare workers, for nannies, for cooks, home health aides, and things like that. And also there's special green cards for nurses. Because there's a shortage of nurses in the United States, Congress has made that determination. There's a special law that nurses can apply directly for the green card. So we do a lot of nurse green cards, especially in this area in South Florida.
Oh, so a lot of people who are listening, I'm sure that would be good if they're not a nurse now and they want to say, go get a nursing degree. This might be great. There are a lot of schools that you can do that, and then you're helping people. You get to stay here. Now, let's say someone does a nurse gets this visa. Does their family also get involved in that? I mean, how do they bring them?
Well, I mean, the nurse would be what they call an H1 visa. On the H1 visas, your spouse and family are allowed to come to the United States, but they don't get a work permit. So, if you're making the average salary for a nurse, maybe it's enough to support your family, but maybe it's not. But then that's an issue. So maybe you have two nurses in the family, they can get two different jobs. But with one, they have to be able to support the family. If they apply for the green card, though, the spouse and the family would be included in the green card process, but not in the work visa. So they would. That's an issue. We always have to deal with two different cases than just one. So
this is very interesting that you have all this knowledge, because when you think about when you first started, it seemed a lot simpler, didn't it? And now it's a lot more complicated. And so just as the gentleman, Mark Sunshine, said, you have to go to people who are really qualified. And I see a lot of advertisements for immigration attorneys. And they're just people who may have just come out of college. They're now a lawyer and they decided, okay, I'm going to be an immigration attorney. But they also, people listening, should go to someone who's had lots of experience. As you said, you've been doing this for 30 years. And as my son, I know how good and how responsible you are, and so I am so glad that you were able to come on, on the show to talk about this. I know you've done some extraordinary pro bono work in this field, which is really nice. There are people who can't afford to go to you, and are there any particular cases that you did that were pro bono that you could kind of share with people that would be interesting?
Well, I mean, we've handled a couple years ago. It was a trafficking in basically a trafficking in a victim from Vietnam. It's amazing that we have these things still going on, where companies actually bring people from Asia. They smuggle them or give a fake visa to come to the United States, and they work in businesses in America. Where a lot of Asian population, a lot of Latin populations, and they keep them basically as slavery, and they owe money to the process back at home, and they make them work unfairly, and that's basically what we call trafficking victims in immigration. And there's actually visas for that, because there's a crime and also trafficking. There's also Violence Against Women's Act, a lot of domestic violence when they have foreign women or foreign spouses coming to the United States. They are oftentimes subject to violence by their American spouses. and then they don't know what to do. They're lost in the system. They don't know how to apply. They're stuck here now, and so there's ways that people like they can apply for a particular special visa, and we have done some pro bono work in those areas.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Well, I thought that since you were kind enough to bring one of you have triplet children, 2 girls and a boy, and one of whom is named Jasmine, and she's a very, very smart, exciting young woman. And she came here all the way from Miami. She got up at 4 in the morning. And the other person you have here with you is your brother-in-law, Luca, who's an architect and lives now in Australia. And so what we need to do is, the way that I can do this is if they will kind of, let's see, if I have you, I have you on Facebook Live. So they could actually come here and just move the chairs over here. Let's just get a little word because we have about 5 minutes and I think it'd be fun. So Jasmine, you're one of 3, and I know you're a very interested person. You love pets. That's one of the things that you just absolutely enjoy so much. So Jasmine, why do you love animals so much?
I don't know, because they're so interesting to me, and they're just so fascinating how, like, they live without using, like, us to, like, feed them usually, and they have animal instincts that they just learn how to do stuff that's, like, so fascinating for me.
Right, and you have a certain connection with them. I know the cat that you got, the beautiful white cat, and you did that for me because I'm allergic to typical cats, but you got this wonderful cat, and this cat is so special, but there's a connection, and I think you have that with other animals. You had that with my dogs. You were very caring. Does your sister and brother have the same thing?
Well, you gotta ask them that, because I don't know if they like them as much as I do. My sister has a cat, and my brother has an iguana. So, it's a different bond, I guess.
That's true. But I've also thought maybe you're going to become a veterinarian when you grow up because you love animals so much. I don't know. You're now playing piano. You're now playing, the violin like your dad. But you're a very exciting young woman. You like a lot of things. That's what I noticed about you. If it's something you want to know about it, that's why you came here this morning, to see what goes on at the radio station, right?
Yeah.
That's how you are. Well, why don't you introduce your uncle, Luca, who is really special. But Luca, we can't see you. You're going to have to come over a little bit. Yeah, come over there. Okay, Luca, so you live in Australia.
Yes.
And you have twins. And I asked you the question, do your twins now have an Australian accent?
Yes, they do. They have. They speak Aussie.
They call it Aussie?
Aussie accent, yes.
And tell me something. Why do you like Australia so much? We'd like to drag you back here, but you don't want to come.
Well, it's a fascinating country. Lifestyle is beautiful, very laid back. The weather is fantastic. It's always spring, and
never snows there.
Never snow. We don't have an earthquake, cyclone. The weather is beautiful. People is very nice, and it's the best place probably to raise a family. That's why we moved there, and we find ourselves very well. We love it, and we really enjoy it. But we still like Miami. And I feel blessed to be part of such a beautiful family.
Yes, that's true. And they feel the same way
Yes.
about you. I know your mother's so excited that you came. Well, let me ask you, Jasmine, I know that you went with your family to Australia, and you love the koala bears. Tell me about those bears. They're so cute. I'd love to just get one and put it in my bed.
Well, they are very adorable, but you can't really keep one because, animals can do what they want. So, they could be dangerous because they have claws, kind of.
They're soft.
But they're very soft.
And do they live in the wild? How when you went there, are they pets? Do people keep them as pets?
Well, not really, but they're in zoos. And yeah.
I saw a show the other day of they were mating the koala bears. That was really cute because they wanted to have babies, and apparently they're not having enough babies. They want more. I don't know what if the population of koala bears are disintegrating. I'm not sure, but they were cute. I could see where you could have one at your house if your uncle brought one, you'd have it. But of course, as now your dad said, they'd probably have to be quarantined. But do they bring?
Well, the zoos have them here in America.
Yeah, but do people have pets in their house?
Well, it's not a pet because it's a very peculiar animal. It only lives in the east Australia, Queensland, and their diet is based only on eucalyptus leaves. And it's very slow metabolism.
I see.
Very slow animal. Right? Eucalyptus, yes. And it's not easy to have as a pet. They have their own life, very peculiar in the wild, and a very slow metabolism life.
Okay, so now what we have is we have a wonderful. That's saying it's over. Thank you. You've been terrific.
Thank you, everybody.